questions from the textbook. This one is question 18 from 7.4. Okay, now for those of us that are like, I don't have my textbook for whatever reason, because you didn't pick it up, I did put the entire chapter 7 in the content section on D2L, so you do all have the online version of the textbook. So this question, okay, what it tells us is the volume of this prism. Oops. There we go. The volume of this prism is 48 centimeters cubed. Okay, that's the volume. But what we're actually asked to find is this spot right here. What is that length? What is the base of this triangle? Well, to do questions like this, we're kind of working backwards, right? So we start off with the formula, okay, for volume. What is the formula for the volume of a triangular prism? Okay, well, we know we have to find the base area first. So base times height divided by 2. All right, that's going to give us this right here. Okay, this flat area, the flat area of the base. But how many times do we have this area? Well, we have this base area a length amount of times, however long this prism is. Okay, so times the length. All right, so now we're going to fill into this formula any information that we are given. So we're given the volume is actually 48 centimeters cubed. That's great. All right, we got that. What's the base? Okay, we don't know what the base is, so we're going to leave that as B. It's an unknown, it's a variable, right? Then we're going to say, okay, what's the height? Okay, they do give us the height. The height is 4 centimeters. Okay, so we got that. Divided by 2, that stays the same. And then I multiply it. Well, what's the length of this prism? Oh, we're given that too. It's 8 centimeters. So now we're going to have to kind of work backwards. All right, so now some of you are like, okay, well, we know, okay, 48, that's got to be the volume. All right, we've got base times 4 divided by 2 times 8. How are we supposed to figure out what this base is? How do I get this value? Okay, well, the first thing we can do is we can go, okay, well, let's do this part here first, and then we'll come back to the base. Okay, so let's figure out the other stuff first. So in order to do this, we're going to focus on the other part. Okay, we can solve the rest of this, right? We're going to leave that B by itself for a little bit because we can actually fill in these numbers. So let's figure out this part first. Whoops. There we go. Okay, so what's 4 times 8? Let's do that part first. Okay, well, 4 times 8, we know that's 32. Okay, so this together here, that's going to give me 32. All right, and then 32 divided by 2, well, that's going to give me 16. Okay, so now what I'm left with is 16 times B. Okay, I'll write it that way so you guys can see. 16 times B is 48. Okay, so let's review what I just did just to make sure. Okay, what we're trying to find out is this B. Okay, and I'm going to actually get rid of these. I think they're getting in our way. All right, so what I did is I figured out, okay, I need this B right here. I need to figure out what it is, but I can't do that because I have to solve all this other stuff first. So I have to solve 4 times 8 divided by 2 first, okay? Because that's going to give me one single number. And then from there, it's so much easier to solve this equation. Okay, so what we're going to do, all we did, we said, okay, 4 times 8 right here is going to give me 32. And then I'm going to divide it by 2. Okay, so 32 divided by 2, that's going to be 16. Okay, so this whole part right here, 4 times 8 divided by 2, that equals 16. All right, but remember, that's 16. This whole box, it's still being multiplied by B. Okay, so we have 16 times B is going to give us 48. Okay, well now we can use our fact families. Okay, so when we're solving for an unknown variable, this is getting a little bit into chapter 10 that we're going to do. How do I figure out this unknown variable? Okay, the unknown, that question mark. 16 times something is going to give me 48. Okay, well, how do I do that? Okay, so just like when we do, okay, 2 plus something gives me 5, we use the opposite operation. So we go 5 minus 2 is going to give me something. Okay, so this is our fact families with addition and subtraction, right? Same thing applies to multiplication. Right? 2 times something is 6, well, 6 divided by 2, that's going to give me something as well. So if we combine that for our question, so 16 times something gives me 48. Well, 48 divided by 16 is going to give me that something, or that variable that I'm trying to figure out. Okay? 48 divided by 16, we put that into the calculator, we end up getting 3, and 3 is going to be our base value. All right, so if we go up back to the top, okay, what we just solved is this unknown value here. Okay, so we want this unknown, okay, this base. What is this base? Okay, well, we just determined it's 3 centimeters. All right, and it should work. If we were to put this equation back in, okay, let's test our answer here a little bit. Okay, let's go down to the bottom. Let's test our answer. All right, so let's say, okay, we know that volume of a triangular prism is base times height divided by 2 times its length. All right, and if this is something where you're like, oh, I'm forgetting these, then you need to go back to our notes, right, and my past videos about chapter 7 to review this stuff, okay, because you can't do these challenging questions without remembering those basic shapes. So now, based on our answer, our volume is going to be, well, the base we just determined, based on our calculations, was 3. Our height was 4 divided by 2. And our length of the prism was 8. Okay, so now let's try it. Okay, 4 times 3 is 12 divided by 2 times 8. All right, 12 divided by 2 is 6 times 8. Okay, these are all going to equal our volume. All right, and our volume is finally going to equal 48 centimeters cubed, which is what they told us in the first place, so we did it correctly. Okay. Now, for those of you that are like, I looked at this question, Miss P, and they aren't actually asking me for the base, they're asking me for the side length here. Yeah. So really, actually, in this question, what they ask you, it isn't the base. They ask you for this length. What is this side length? Okay. Well, when we look at it, all right, that's kind of the next step. We have to do all this work to find the base first, and then we could figure out, okay, what is this length here, right? And for those of us that are like, oh my gosh, Miss P, it's a right angle triangle. We know what theorem we need to use. Of course, it's going to be the Pythagorean theorem. So, to figure out this one, now all we do is we use Pythagorean theorem. So a squared plus b squared equals c squared. Our a is going to be 3, our b is going to be 4, and we're trying to figure out what c squared is. Okay, so 3 squared is 9, 4 squared is 16. Together that gives me 25. Okay, which means c squared is 25. But remember, we don't want c squared, we just want to see what's the actual side length of that triangle. All right, well, to do this, we have to take the square root. Okay, the square root of 25 is going to be 5 centimeters, and that would have been your final answer for this question. All right, so it's definitely a multi-problem question, and it's definitely quite challenging, right? But it's a good question to ask, and a good question to really show your understanding of this unit.